They're trying to take that away from us with net neutrality. Maybe you could explain that, David, if you're familiar with it enough. If not, I will.
Well, my understanding of the net neutrality is
and what the right-wing Republicans plan to do.
My understanding was it seems like more of a misnomer. It's not. There is not neutrality. What they want to do is favor the amount of bandwidth provided to big corporations and slow down the websites of those who can't pay to play, so to speak. Is that your understanding?
Yes, which is what's happened in radio broadcasting. I mean, and television also. The prices, with the deregulation of ownership in this country, prices of radio stations skyrocketed. For example, a Southern company was able to take over a local FM station in Westport, Connecticut, WEBE at 107.9, several years ago now. The price tag was $66 million. Now, who in this area personally has $66 million in their pocket where they could buy one of these stations?
Probably only a handful of people, if that, in the whole state.
Yeah, correct. So now it's part of a Southern conglomerate. The first thing they did when they came in was to cut the people's health benefits and look for cuts in other areas. Eliminate local staffing positions, put on syndicated programs such as Delilah and national talk show hosts on the sister AM station, WICC. So it's similar, and in fact in New Haven, the most notorious company is Clear Channel, which is headed by George W. Bush's personal friend, Lowry Mays. WELI New Haven was a prominent news and information station with a brand name that went back for 6 decades. Now, Clear Channel has eliminated every local news person there. The news is done by a voice track by someone at their Syracuse station, and then sent by MP3 down to New Haven. And they use the wire to collect, Associated Press wire to collect a few stories from Connecticut. And that's how they do the news on WELI. No more local reporters, no more even a local person in the studio reading the news. And also the schedule all during the day and around the clock is syndicated national programs such as Glenn Beck, who described on the air about a year ago about how he could personally would enjoy strangling Michael Moore with his hands. People like...
Sounds like political extremism on the right.
Right, yeah. Rush Limbaugh, who has condemned homosexuals and many other groups in this country. He's the leading talk show host. Dr. Laura Schlesinger has been on that station, who refers to people like us as gay people as biological errors. And this is...
Isn't she a biological error?
Well, this is what we have now. We don't have anybody on there talking about...
Isn't everybody a biological error to some extent?
I guess, but we don't have anybody on there...
We'd all be like fembots.
We don't have anybody in there serving New Haven. All we have is national shows offering bigotry.
It's truly a shame, and I think a lot of it has to do with corporatism, which... some might argue is just short of fascism. Certainly corporatism, meaning that anybody who is not for a large corporation doesn't exist. And by shutting out websites or slowing down websites that do not have the capacity to pay for huge amounts of bandwidth, I think that is going to dramatically impact the internet in a negative way. And I think, I also suspect these announcements we've recently read, one of which being by Comcast, where they're going to cut and charge extra to individual customers for the amount of bandwidth they use. And this is a nasty surprise people that use Comcast are going to find on their bill in the next month or two. If they exceed a certain amount of bandwidth, which could be used to download movies, upload videos such as this, or gaming, or running websites, they're no longer going to have a flat fee. They're going to claim to have a flat fee, but if you exceed a certain amount of bandwidth, the flat fee does not apply. And rather than improving the backbone, the infrastructure of the internet, Comcast is stealing from the customers again. And I certainly hated Comcast the short time we were involved with that company. as customers.
They are the nation's largest cable company. They operate from coast to coast. They even have major cities such as San Francisco in their areas.
They have very poor customer service. We hope that maybe at some point it will improve, certainly, because they have a huge market share. So if it doesn't improve, we're all at their mercy. The bundling of services, telephone, internet, and cable TV, I think was a good idea. The VoIP telephones, flat fee, no long distance charges. But unfortunately, I think they've used that, Comcast and some other companies, to reel people in, and then they jack up the price a year later. So there's a lot to be considered, and I think with the economy becoming so depressed, far more depressed than our politicians are willing to acknowledge, I think we're going to see really figuratively a meltdown of the economy and society within the next several months that is going to have to be addressed by the next administration.
Well, hopefully so, but again, for the first time in modern history, since the Great Depression years, wages for the middle class in this country have gone down in the last 8 years. Down. Whereas George W. Bush's billionaire friends, their annual income has gone up 11% every one of these 8 years he's been in power. 11% every year, while the middle class's wages have gone down. In fact, there are many things I disagree with Lou Dobbs on, but he had a great phrase. We used to see his telecast when the Republicans were in charge of both the White House and the Congress up to 2006, and he had a great phrase for them. And he's a Republican. He would call it the Republican Party's war on the middle class. And that's exactly what's been going on. And yet David and I both know so many people in the middle class, and they're saying, oh, well, we might vote for McCain. So I guess they want more of it. They want their children to have less. They want their children to have less opportunity. They want it to be made more difficult for their children to go to college. They want the opportunity to live in nice housing. They want that to be lost to more and more people, and they want more and more wealth concentrated in the very top. So I guess they want it to be similar to what used to be called third world countries. That's what they want.
Well, you know what it is? It's the bigotry card.
That's how they distract the masses. The real agenda is what Bush said at that dinner. His base being the haves and the have-mores. That's the real agenda. The bigotry, the bashing of homosexuals, the bashing of blacks, the stealth ways of attacking gays and attacking blacks, so they're not exactly using the N-word.
And the poor and the middle class.
And the poor and the middle class. All of that is a distraction. That's a distraction. Say, oh yeah, Reagan is cracking down on those welfare queens. How many people did you hear talking about that at the time? Oh, Reagan's cracking down on those welfare queens.
I remember it, and I was a child at the time.
Yeah. And George W. Bush, he's for the family. He's for the marriage of one man and one woman.